Plato's Republic is one of his finest works. In this translation by Alan Bloom, we will try to gain an insight into the views of Plato and his teacher Socrates. Let's start with Book 1. Book 1 starts fairly simply. Socrates is heading down to the Piraeus, a city in ancient Greece, with Glaucon, who is believed to be the elder brother of Plato. They are heading there to pray to the goddess and observe the festival that has been put on there. After they pray and observe the festival, they start walking back home. As they are going back home, Polemarchus, son of Cephalus, orders his slave boy to run after them and asks them to wait. Polemarchus then persuades Socrates to wait in the town a bit longer, as he and his friends wants his company. Socrates agrees. Socrates then goes to the house of Cephalus, who is Polemarchus's father. That is where an interesting conversation happens, and that forms the basis of the initial philosophy of Plato's Republic. Cephalus is a wise man. He has been hardened by experience. His knowledge has increased with the passage of time. He says to Socrates, almost in a pleading way, Socrates, you don't come down to us in the Piraeus very often, yet you ought to. Now, if I still had the strength to make the trip to town easily, there would be no need for you to come here. Rather, we would come to you. As it is, however, you must come here more frequently. I want you to know that as the other pleasures, those connected with the body, wither away in me, the desires and pleasures that have to do with speeches grow the more. Now do as I say. Be with these young men, but come here regularly to us as to friends and your very own kin. Cephalus here is pleading to Socrates. Cephalus realizes that Socrates is a man of inquisitive nature, a man who is curious and is seeking knowledge, and Cephalus has a lot of things to share. Yet, Cephalus thinks that he is talking about something that old people do, and he does not want to bore Socrates, so he says to him, be with these young men, because he fears that he might make Socrates think that Cephalus is asking him something that the Socrates himself does not desire. Yet Cephalus, to seek Socrates' company, is even willing to go and meet Socrates, but he says that he cannot because he has withered with the old age, and withering with his strength are his desires that are connected with the body. Yet there is a desire in him that has grown only more, and that is the desire of speech. Why Cephalus says that? Why this dialogue contains something that is very important for Plato's Republic to take its form. The desires and the pleasures of the body are connected to ignorance, and that is different from the desire to speak, for it is concerned with sharing the knowledge here, and such as one desires withers away, another desire grows. Cephalus does not require Socrates, a man who is curious, to fulfill his other desires. He may want other people who are interested in enjoying the pleasures of the flesh. He does not need a curious man for it, and he does not need to seek Socrates' company to fulfill those desires. But as those desires have waned, now he is trying to seek a man who could fulfill the desire of knowledge. And that man is not a man who is concerned with the pleasures of the world to the extent as other men are. And Socrates thus is valuable. To fulfill your desires of the body, you can choose from many a man and many a woman, but there are only few special people with whom you can share the desires of the mind, of the knowledge, of your own curiosity, of your own speech. This interesting part shows a contrast between the knowledge and ignorance, and how they are connected to different desires. And Socrates affirms this as he says to Cephalus, "For my part, Cephalus, I am really delighted to discuss with the very old, since they are like men who have proceeded on a certain road that perhaps we too will have to take. One ought, in my opinion, to learn from them what sort of road it is, whether it is rough and hard or easy and smooth. From you in particular, I should like to learn how it looks to you, for you are now at just the time of life. The poets call the threshold of old age. Is it a hard time of life, or what have you to report of it?" It is an interesting affirmation of Cephalus' view. Socrates agrees and shows that he is indeed inquisitive and curious. But Socrates is also unlike other men, for he is thinking about old age. Young men do not want to think about old age often, for they do not want to waste their time in thinking about those things that are perhaps surely to come to them if they do not die early. They are concerned with pursuing the desires of flesh, and they do not want to think of what happens to the people when they are old. But that is an uninteresting and non encouraging phenomena. For those young men are different from Socrates, and this is why Cephalus seeks the company of a young man like Socrates who is from another city. For the men like Socrates are indeed rare. Socrates wants to know what old age is like. He wants to know what Cephalus sees from his vantage point. And this is something that makes Socrates unique among many. He wants to learn whether the path that is stored for them in the future is rough and hard or easy and smooth. He knows how the poets call the old age, in which Cephalus is an intersection point between the youth and an ultimate death. This threshold of old age is something that makes Socrates curious, and he is not afraid to discuss those things that are hard, that are not pleasurable to discuss, that are not sporty, that are not youthful, but to many that are boring. But that is the nature of knowledge. Knowledge itself is not concerned with the pleasures, but it's concerned with things that are true, no matter how dull and uninteresting they are. And that ends the second page of book 1.